Well, fuck. Today's episode is going to be critical of the Brony community and talking about LGBT characters in children's shows. So I'm gonna get shit blasted from both ends of the asshole spectrum. I'm gonna have wacky Equestria Daily dwellers on this side, and I'm gonna have safe space protesting status quo warriors on this side. So this is gonna be a great day for me. In fact, you know what? Fuck it. If we're gonna piss people off, let's burn all our bridges in the process, right? 1. Gravity Falls is shit. Family Guy is the pinnacle of adult-oriented animation. Ask Princess Molestia was a legitimately terrible webcomic. Derpy's Eyes? Make them more centered. Rose Quartz is a bigger idiot than Princess Celestia, and as for fucking Star versus the Forces of Evil... No, I got nothing. That show is pure delight in a can. Now, I'm gonna prefix this by saying that I don't really think homophobia is a huge concern in the Brony community. I could be wrong, and someone could very easily drop into the comments to share a story about how they were pelted with homophobic slurs at a convention. I don't go to conventions, so I don't know. But in general, I think the majority of the community is in full support of gay relationships within the show. Take one look at most fan art and you'll see just how popular shipping is in this community. What we're talking about here is a few outliers among a single article that got me thinking. Whenever somebody suggests making works with more diverse casts, be it based on gender, race, or sexuality, the inevitable tidal wave of hemming and hawing starts up like clockwork. The excuses that can come out of people can be pretty tremendous, and we've discussed a lot of them throughout the lifespan of the show. The idea that it's forcing some liberal agenda is bullshit. The idea that it's PC culture gone mad is bullshit. Same old, it's not worth addressing. But one that crops up with increasing regularity is the idea that the show would be having a gay couple just for the sake of having a gay couple, also known as tokenism. Tokenism has always been a very sneaky word. On the surface, it sounds reasonable. You don't want a character being defined entirely by their gender or race or sexuality. But in these cases, the solution people often give is to just not do it. You hear it all the time. I would rather not have the character than have the character turn out bad. How convenient for you. But as the popular of Tyler Perry movies and characters played by Chris Colfer have so often demonstrated, getting a shitty version of what you like is often better than not getting it at all. The solution is to write better characters. Avoiding certain character types because you're afraid you might fuck it up is counterproductive to that solution. A potential gay character isn't going to be bad because homosexual relationships were forced into the series in an attempt to fill some non-existent quota. That character is going to turn out badly because she came from the same people who gave us Princess Celestia, Shining Armor, and Starlight Glimmer. So let's pull away from the obviously veiled homophobia and discuss the concept of tokenism. And because I don't want to be here all day, let's keep this locked to gay characters. What makes a gay character token? Ineptitude. Simple ineptitude, and if you look closely you can spot some pretty common trends. Characters created specifically to be gay tend to have shallow personalities. Characters have shallow personalities when they're first created in general. It's development post-creation that gives them more depth and complexity. Tony Stark is a far more complex character in Civil War than he was in the first Iron Man movie. Development is what makes characters more interesting. So when most people create a gay character, that is pretty much their entire personality. They announce how gay they are at every turn and never evolve beyond it. The problem with that is it's fucking boring. So then you need the character to do something, and then the first thought in most writers' heads is to address homophobia itself and the overall social issues surrounding the gay rights movement. So not only does your character have very little personality, now they're being boiled down to a statistic and a narrative cliche. So how do we avoid this? Well, in the case of the first problem, Friendship is Magic has already presented a solution. Over the last 6 years, we've had a whole host of characters given varying ranges of development. So instead of creating a new character, we can just pluck one of them out of the crowd and say, okay, this pony is gay. Their personality is already established and given some semblance of development and is therefore more interesting. Now that always comes with the inevitable backlash of why are we changing pre-existing characters, why not make an entirely new character? Well, first of all, Friendship is Magic has a nasty habit of dropping characters after their debut, which is not necessarily something you're going to want to be doing if your idea is to make the cast more diverse. And since being gay is a benign personality trait that tends to affect very little beyond relationships, you can literally apply it to anybody. Any character who has not yet explicitly expressed an interest in the opposite sex is viable to be written as gay, and any characters that have can always be revealed to be bisexual later on. Now what about that second problem about stories typically revolving around social issues? Well, could we not bother with that? I said this in Shipwrecked and I'm gonna say it again. In the eyes of any well-adjusted person, gay relationships are normal to the point of being practically mundane. If you've made it to 2016 still hating gay people, words are wasted on you, and the preferable solution to your ignorance is to be socially ostracized until you can learn how to act like a grown-up. So what if we pick a topic from the millions of untapped ideas? Equestria doesn't seem like a place that would be hostile to gay people. I don't see a reason to compare it socially to the United States. Hey, we got these two over here doing absolutely nothing, and they act like a married couple already. So let's just establish that. Almost all of the work has already been done for you since they had the only interesting scene in Slice of Life. Not only do you have two good characters ready to go, you get applauded for taking a progressive leap forward, and you get double applauded for canonizing the most popular ship in the damn fandom. That's DHX's favorite thing right there. Fan service that gets them applause for doing absolutely no work. Are you nervous about how it might be received? Okay, here's an alternative. You made an exact clone of Twilight and Friendship Games, right? So... I mean, I know DHX really likes to tease Flashlight, but they've got an entire second Twilight just sitting there waiting to be used. That came out wrong. Contrary to popular belief, writing a gay character is something you have to work really hard at to screw up. We've been writing love stories since the dawn of time. We have this honed to a fine art. Having two people being the same gender doesn't create some massive rift that shakes up the formula. I think people often feel like they're obligated to get into the really heavy socio-political aspects of homosexuality before they're ready to tackle the subject. I understand that. Gay rights are a huge topic in the United States right now, especially after 50 people were murdered when some lunatic decided to see what would happen when you combined one stupid aspect of American culture with another stupid aspect of American culture. But Equestria is not the United States. It's a far more enlightened and civilized country with a far more empathetic population. It is perfectly reasonable to take the Star Trek route and say, yeah, that nonsense is centuries behind us, this is how you should be doing it, and move on from there. Not only does that approach give you the freedom to do more interesting things, it also means you can screw up without creating a huge blowback. DHX has world built the best sandbox for beginners to start writing gay characters. It would be a shame if they didn't take advantage of that. The worst that could ever happen is that you have a boring character, and DHX has made boring characters before and the world didn't end. I know there's always the concern that you'll get a huge backlash from conservatives and neo-Nazis,
but I repeat myself.
But by and large, those people are small in number and merely very noisy, and the rest of society has largely left them and their obsolete worldview behind. As far as alterations to the main cast goes, I understand that it can be difficult for a staff to incorporate such an aspect into a character. Not because change is difficult, any character designer worth their salt will tell you that changes like these are insultingly easy, but because it's often very difficult to figure out how you're going to introduce it and then implement it. Story flow is a very important thing, which is why next week, I'll tell you who I think is the best character in the main six to do this with, and why. Yeah. Teaser.